And welcome everyone to a WAC chat. I'm Andy Katz, pleased to be joined by Shereka Wright, head coach of UT Arlington. And you guys have won 5 of your last 7, 5 and 4. Had a win over Little Rock as we're talking the previous night. But, you've had a challenging slate. And, when you look at who you've already beaten, whether it's, Wyoming or taking down Texas A&M, VCU. You've played such a strong slate. And, you opened with Houston, so you've played up, you've beaten your peers. Already, this has been an outstanding start with a challenging schedule. What was your philosophy in building a slate like this?
Yes, Andy. So a couple of things for me as you look at kind of how the landscape is going. One of the things that I've looked at when I first took this job, coming from the assistant coach associate to now, one of the things that I taught to the old AD, Jim Baker, is that I wanted to really challenge and put this program on the map and put us in a position to be able to win championships. And I always feel like you have to challenge your teams to kind of see where they are. If you want to play against the best of the best, you got to kind of see where you are. Scheduling is tough, and you recruit to that. And you try to make sure that people really understand who you are and who you are as a team. And so every year we've tried to do that. And I think it's been really good for us, a good formula for us as we go into, WAC play and get into those championship games. I always feel like our teams are prepared for that because we've seen all types of styles of play. We've gone West Coast, East Coast, anywhere that you think of. And so it's not something that we're not prepared for. And so I think it's been a great formula for us here at UTA.
So look, obviously you were in a great recruiting area. And I'm curious, how much has that helped, whether it's home, road, that teams are willing to schedule UT Arlington because, and everyone's got their own interests. I'm not naive to that. But knowing that they're playing a school in a fertile, recruiting ground where you get into the state of Texas, if you beat that school, that could look good. I mean, how much has that helped in getting games of where UT Arlington is located?
Yeah, I think it helps a lot. First of all, it's easy to get to, right? So you've got two major airports that you can fly into, so that does help in scheduling. The second thing is that again, there are different schools within the area that you don't have to go very far to get multiple games in. And so I think that that does help us a lot to be able to schedule those games. And also too, Andy, it does help that you have a WNBA team that's right here localized. So that also helps that again, if you have different power fours or you have mid majors that have high caliber players that want to come in and they can be seen. I think that's also another thing to our advantage that they do schedule those games. But we've had success, and I think that that also has helped too when teams are looking at again nets and your strength of schedule and where you are. That is definitely something that's enticing for schools to be able to schedule us for those games for us here.
Well, and obviously through the first 9 games as we're talking here, while offensively, you're not breaking records here, in the 60s, but you're holding teams to an average of 59.8, which that's usually a recipe for a W. What's been about this defense that in the way these players have bought in that has allowed you guys to be so successful?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's glaring that stands out is I think for the first time in 6 years since I've been here, the size that I have on the roster has been to our advantage, the length that we do have. And so when you look at it, besides Nia 3 that's at, 5'5" ish, everybody else you look at is about 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". And so we can play a different style of defense each time that we can come out. We can full court press, we can go 1-2-2, we can play you straight man, or we can switch everything. And so that does set up a recipe for us to be able to challenge a lot of different teams. And so that has also helped us to be able to not get to the point scoring wise, but it does allow us to be able to challenge some teams and do some different things that they may not have seen.
Uh, Kira Reynolds, we're in an era where, the portal, you got to get old and stay old. And here you've got a 6'4", freshman from South Bend, Indiana, who's been stellar for you right off the bat. I mean, how do you explain her smooth transition into this role
Mhm.
at high level Division One?
Yeah, it's I've always said, watching Kira, obviously coming out of high school, I think there were probably a lot of people, that didn't know what her ceiling was. I mean, obviously, again, she probably didn't get the awards as other players were getting. But when you look at her length and size, and I didn't know it either until we actually got into game flow. You can kind of see some different things in practice, but you could tell that she had a skill set that is something that you just don't teach. I think it was a thing of instilling confidence in her. And then she is a different type of player that you don't get to see on occasion. And so her ability to be able to handle the ball, her ability to change things defensively at the rim, her unique way to score with that length has been definitely a challenge for a lot of different teams. And so she's just kind of really bloomed into herself. We just had to probably just really build confidence in her. It has been an adjustment. Most people don't get to see that because of the play right now, but it has been an adjustment to her because of practice and the style of play, the physicality. Going to class and then having to work out, it's been different for her, but she has definitely blossomed into a talent that we felt like she could definitely be here.
All right, last thing related to that. How do you manage to avoid the wall?
Mhm.
She's high usage. There's now a lot of responsibility that brings pressure, stress. You got a long season. You're off to a great start. So how do you manage, and navigate that over the next couple of months?
Well, I think the good thing for us, Andy, right now, we got a really good quality win at Little Rock. We're now into finals. And so we get to kind of step back a little bit. I think for us going into it, we come back and we have some really tough teams with Rice, Texas Southern, and they were at LSU. For her, more so than anything, is that the depth has been something that's been really, really good for us. And so we've been able to rotate and manage the minutes. Now, lately, she has played some major minutes. But I think it just kind of comes from balancing again the nutrition, the weight program, balancing her load in practice. I think that those things all, matter. And having the experience in being able to see that at the level that I was, and then definitely having who we have in place, we will continue to manage those things as we go along. But I think it's just kind of keeping her where she is, where her feet are. And she's a very humble kid. I think that that's the thing for her that separates her from most freshmen right now. She's not getting a lot of looks, but she will eventually start to get that. She just kind of just shows up and does her job, and then she goes on her merry way. She loves Hello Kitty. And so when, she spends her time and she gets away from it, we don't add a lot of stressors to her. And she just gives us what she needs. And she just tries to do everything she can for her team to be successful.
Awesome. Great chatting with you, and I know this is going to be definitely a season to chart because you guys are off to a great start, and this kind of confidence that I know is going to carry you guys a long way. So I appreciate your time, Shereka.
Thank you, Andy. You have a good one.